Hey there, HD 109. This is Will Campbell. I am your candidate for the Texas House of Representatives, covering from Cedar Hill to Seagoville. And as you can tell, I had shoulder surgery just yesterday. So I'm good though. Whenever I've got folks coming into my district and telling me that there's a scam that's going on, shoulder surgery or not, I need to look into this, right? I'm trying to run to be your representative, so I need to make sure I know what's going on. And right now, the current representative, a couple of them, are trying to make this claim that the TEFA program, or the Voucher program, as it's more popularly known, is a scam and a scheme. Now, if that's the case, then I'm going to get rid of it. Right? I'm going to do everything I can in order to get rid of that program. Now, whenever it came out, I was mildly in support of it because at least it's a step in the right direction. But it was not what I was hoping for. Vouchers are not the way to go. The money should follow the child, right? And it should be based on enrollment. There's a lot of things that we could argue about and talk about on that, but the voucher system was at least something that can finally bring some relief to families that are sending their kids to private schools, but still having to pay for public schools that their kids don't attend. Let's take a look at their own words. This is the Tallarico event again. I had attended this event, so I can hear what everybody in the community wanted to ask and try to find out what it is they're trying to find answers about, and to hear what my opponents are saying and what it is they're talking about. And these folks have been in the legislature for a while. Your representative has been there for the 89th legislative session, so she knows a lot about this stuff. So I need to hear what it is they're going to say.
I've also gone toe-to-toe with the Republican extremists who are trying to defund our public schools with a private school voucher scam.
So that was James Tallarico at this Tallarico event, and then in my previous video I showed Aisha Davis fully supports this guy, right? So okay, my representative is saying that this is somebody that we should vote for, right? And now this guy is telling us, he was on the floor, right? If I remember correctly, he was a member there to vote on this legislation as well. So was Aisha. And they voted against it. And now they're telling us that this is a scam or a scheme, right? Let's take a look at what she got interviewed about this a little while ago. Oh, what was the date on this one? February 24th, right? So this is after everything got kicked off. So let's take a look at what her words are here.
Into the huge interest in school vouchers, more than 100,000 applications in the first 2 weeks. There seems to be a lot of interest in this, more than I anticipated.
Well, I'm very curious to see if these are students and families that were already in private schools versus those who were in public schools and now trying to go to private schools. I know the majority of the voucher recipients are interested in private schools, but what we've seen across the country is a lot of these families were already in private schools, and this was just to ease the burden of the cost. So once that information comes out, I'd be very interested to see how we move forward.
With this kind of interest, though, do you think Democrats might have misread this issue?
No, we predicted this would happen. I mean, this is a state with one of the largest student populations in the country. So of course we're going to have huge numbers of people who are applying for these vouchers because they're either already in private schools, and this softens that a little bit. So we knew this was going to happen. The whole purpose of vouchers were for low-income families to have this new opportunity at private schools. Whether or not that's happening, now that's what I want to see.
Right. So those are valid points, right? Those are valid concerns, right? I want to make sure that if we're going to have a voucher program, that it's going to families that really need it, that want to send their children to private schools. There's good private schools in the area. And like she said, it's to alleviate that burden, right? Families are still paying property taxes to the school districts in which they live in while sending their kid to a private school too. So that's a lot of money, right? You would figure that they would be allowed to have their money back since their students not attending that school. But we're all told, no, they need to keep paying to that school district while they send their kids to a different school. And you got to ask yourself, I mean, is that really being reasonable to say that? Because they're not making use of the public school resources. So why would they need to continue to pay for them when their students going elsewhere? So that's always been a big problem for me. And looking at all this stuff is like, no, if my kid's not going to that school, then the money shouldn't be going to that school. It should be the money I pay in property taxes should go to the school where my kid is attending. Right? That seems reasonable to me. Now, she shows a legitimate concern here, right? Now, in other places, we have on her website here, calling fully fund our public schools and repeal Texas voucher scheme. All right, so, a little bit of a change in what it is she has to say about this. She was being very respectful of it in that video. But now it's a scheme again, right? We heard Tallarico calling it a scam. And this is what else we're seeing from a lot of other Democrat representatives, including the party as a whole, calling this thing a scam. Now, is that really the case? So when I got somebody coming out here and telling the people of my district, telling me as one of her constituents that this is a scam, I don't want that. I don't want anybody being scammed. That's wrong. We need to get rid of that, right? But is that claim true? Well, let's take a look. So I'm going to have this article posted along as well. One of the big concerns that they like to say is that this is going to suck money out of public education, that it's just a handout to the billionaires for taking their kids to school. She wants to know, is it going to the low-income families? Because that's kind of the focus of it, is to give them the opportunity to come out. So there's legitimate questions, right? Where is it actually going? Now, let's answer the first thing first. Is the voucher program taking money away from public schools? The answer is no. All of our public schools are funded by 1, their property taxes, 2, federal programs, things of that nature, state programs, Robin Hood, and then, of course, the FSP, where based on average daily attendance, they get an additional portion from the state level to pay for the students that are enrolled. And they use average daily attendance, which, bane of everybody's existence. I'm a guy that's for it going based on enrollment, and then enrollment being checked periodically as they go to see if a student moved from one place to the other, and the money should follow the student, right? That's the idea, and that's how it should be, right? But none of those programs, none of them are funding the voucher program. None of them. And yet they're telling us this is sucking billions of dollars away from public schools. It's a $1 billion cap. That's not happening, right? Now, we can scroll down and see on here, you'll be able to see the article and what all the funding is. The TEFA funds come out of the general revenue of the state, right? So this is general funds that are being pulled from our sales taxes and ONG wellhead tax and all these other, well, I think the ONG is for a specific purpose. But anyways, it's out of the general revenue. It's not being pulled out of the funding that's set aside for public schools. So no, it's not draining money away from the public schools at all. So the next part, right? People will say, okay, well, the students, we have the ADA, the FSP program. That money is being taken away from the public schools because that student is no longer attending that public school. Okay, that seems valid, right? But does the money then come out of the FSP, which is where that ADA count comes from, and then get given to that program? No, it doesn't. It stays in the FSP program. And then it allows that money to be available so that as new students come into the public education system, that money is available there to be distributed to those students wherever they are. So it doesn't make any change to the money that's available to public schools for funding public schools. So that's completely incorrect. So this is, I re-updated this on Saturday or Sunday with whatever was most recently available. So 274,000 applicants. Thus far, total students awarded as of June 10th is 102,000. So out of them, Tier 1 awards, which are disability plus income less than 500% of FPL, is about 42,600 students. All right, so that's Tier 1 awards, disability plus that income threshold there. Tier 2 awards, income less than 200% of FPL, which here in Texas, that's $66,000 a year. So a family making $66,000 a year, that's on the lower income spectrum. That's HD 109, guys. So this program is perfect for everybody here in HD 109. And it makes me wonder if we've got state representatives coming out here, because Democrats are a majority here, right? These are the representatives. These are people sending information back to the people here in HD 109. How many people didn't even bother to apply for this program that was built for them because they believed it was a scheme or something to only benefit the rich? Because based on the numbers right now, nope, doesn't look like it. Right, so for Tier 2 students on the wait list right now, the families that are low income, there's about 12,860 that are currently on the wait list right now because we've hit the $1 billion cap. There has been enough interest in this that we've hit that $1 billion cap, and that's letting us know, hey, parents, they want to take advantage of this program. So recipients with a documented disability are about 25%, so 1 in 4. And then recipients with household income less than 200% of the FPL is 80%. So 80% of those who are recipients who've received the funding are below the $66,000 in income. So it sounds to me like lower income families are the ones that are benefiting from this program based on the numbers, the TEFA demographic update as of June 2026. So please check my sources on this. Go and take a look at it for yourself. I encourage you to go to TEFA's website, take a look at what was published. I'm just pulling from what was available in that as I drafting this thing up. Recipients previously in private school or homeschool, 57%. Now, let me ask you this question. And this is what was kind of burning through my mind as I was sitting here talking about it, right? So on one end, they're saying this is taking money from public schools, right? And now we know on the FSP, it's based on ADA, average daily attendance. So that's public schools in 2024. I'm going to call it that year. If those kids, this 57%, were not in public school at that time, and now they're going to go to private school, that means 2024, 2025, going into the new school year, those schools were not receiving funding for those students. But now they're getting funding from general revenue to go to the private school. So for 57%, there's very clearly no money being taken from the public education. They weren't going to begin with. They weren't receiving the money for those students to begin with. So that doesn't jive. Now, recipients previously in public schools, 2024, 2025 school year, right, was 43%. So got about a half spread. Now, so the claims that have been made, I'm showing you here, are not true. It's not taking any money from public schools. And it is benefiting low-income families, 80%, making less than $66,000 a year. So I'm not seeing where these claims that they're telling all of you, they're coming down to our district and telling us that this is a scheme, that it's a scam. I'm not seeing that. Now, you may see something different in it. Okay, I hear you. We look at the distribution, demographically, you can see in here, it's pretty level. It's consistent with the general population. In addition to this thing, $8.5 billion was also passed in the same year, in the same session, for teacher pay and for adding security at the schools. And you can see all the different parts of that was on there. That was passed as well. So we're 8 times the amount of money set aside for the voucher program was then provided to the schools at the same time. Right? So I'm not seeing where the Republican Party, who's the party majority right now, is taking money from public schools to fund a scam. I don't see a scam here. So, draw your own conclusions, make your own choices. I'm showing it to you right here. It's in the article. Go check the sources, go check the TEA, and review it for yourself. Because right now, what they're telling you isn't true. And as I've said before, there's 2 options here that really come into play. Either A, them being people, members of the House, whenever this bill was submitted, they didn't read it to know that the funding doesn't come out of public school funding. It comes out of a general revenue fund. And so they were ignorant of what the bill was when they voted against it. So that's not exactly a good thing to have. Or on the other side of it, they do know that this is the case and they're coming out here and telling you something different, right? It's false. It's just not true. And it's a program that can benefit a lot of families here in HD 109. Now, some questions are being asked about my background and stuff. I kind of, typing is a little bit difficult right now. So I've been teaching for a very long time. I've taught over 1,600 Marines and about 600 or so foreign law enforcement and military and infantry tactics, techniques, and procedures. I've developed courses. I've developed curriculum. I've actually built the schools. I've drawn it from the ground up and teaching all these programs and teaching foreign nationals as well. I'm here at home. I've done training programs for different large companies. Having trained multiple people all over the country in different policies and procedures and creating those SOPs, creating the actual curriculum, creating the training. I've also spent time at church teaching on Wednesday nights with the youth groups and 5th and 6th graders on Sundays. So I spent a lot of time teaching there while I developed the curriculum as well, and I guide them through their Bible lessons and everything. Been doing that for about 10 years. But I'm going to be starting to teach at my kids' school here this year. I'll be doing physics labs, home shop, which I'm really looking forward to doing. It's going to be awesome. Strength training, and then Old Testament studies as well. So my education background, I have my MBA in strategic management from UNT. I've got a MBA in theological studies from Dallas Baptist University. And I also have another master's degree in Christian ministry focused in Christian education from Dallas Baptist University as well. And of course, my bachelor's is in business management from DeVry University also. So I don't know what that has to do with the TEFA program or things that are going in, but people have asked the question. I'm not going to tell you what school it is for the sake of the safety of both me and my children. So there is that. But that's what my background is for anybody that has any concerns there. But outside of that, guys, I hope you're able to share this video. Make sure people are informed. Make sure people are applying to the TEFA program. Their applications are closed and all that. But be ready to see what's going to come next. Like I said, I don't really like the voucher program. There's a better way of doing it. I think this was a step in the right direction of saying like, hey, look guys, people are very interested. There's a lot of families here in the state of Texas that want to send their kids to private schools. And as state legislators, we need to take, that's a large population. We really need to be looking at, okay, how do we help these families with being able to have that freedom of choice? And I'm drafting up my policy in the Freedom of Education plan. And that's something I'm hoping to publish here before the election goes, but I should have some more videos explaining all that. I'm just trying to go through some of these things here because, you know, these folks were just in the district recently. I want to respond to them. But yeah, so again, my name is Will Campbell. I am your candidate for the Texas House of Representatives for HD 109. That goes from Cedar Hill to Seagoville. So visit willcampbellfortexas.com to be able to learn more. And hey, Jesus loves you, and I approve this message.